Preventing the pollution of stormwater runoff and snowmelt has been the law of the land since the early 90s. Large and medium-sized municipalities and government operations have been working on this since the start. Smaller municipalities have been at it since 2003. It's a demanding job and one that requires constant attention. And it's not just municipal storm sewer system operators, MS4 operators, who are working on stormwater. Industrial facilities and construction sites over 1 acre must also develop and implement stormwater pollution prevention plans for their operations. But municipal employees occupy a unique position when it comes to stormwater pollution prevention. In a very real sense, MS4s lead the way. So, this training program focuses on the 12 best management practices, or BMPs, that are of most importance to MS4s. Not all 12 BMPs will be applicable on every outdoor job, but at least one BMP will be applicable on just about every outdoor job you do. You may only be trained on those BMPs that are most important in your work. But, whatever your work, MS4 employees are being called upon to set an example for effective pollution prevention. To do a rain check on every outdoor job, and to make sure stormwater runoff is being protected for everyone in the community. Because they all look to us for leadership. Spills, leaks, and drips are the most common sources of stormwater pollution from municipal facilities. Oils, fuels, coolants, paints, detergents, cleaners, de-icers, solvents, pesticides, and herbicides. Stormwater needs to be protected from contact with these materials and any others that might pollute runoff. Spills, leaks, and drips can usually be prevented by practicing good housekeeping. Jobs where the risk of spills, leaks, or drips is high should never be done outdoors. Only dispense lubricants, oils, solvents, and other potential pollutants indoors or under a roof. Outdoors, when transferring fuels or oils, place drip pans underneath connections that might leak or spill. For bulk storage containers like above-ground tanks, they should be built with secondary containments such as berms, retaining walls, dikes, trenches, or diversion ponds to hold any leak if the tank shell fails. If your facility has a large volume of petroleum products on site, a spill prevention control and countermeasure plan has been developed to prevent and respond to releases. This plan can guide you on the proper measures for working with oils. However, be aware that rainwater or snowmelt may accumulate inside of secondary containments. Secondary containments are often fitted with drain valves. It may be tempting to just open one if water accumulates inside. But be advised that this accumulated water may not be drained without first being determined to be clean, and then only with authorization from your supervisor or stormwater coordinator. For portable containers, keep lids and tops on unless you are actually using that container. Use secondary containment such as a containment pallet or tray. Make sure all containers are clearly labeled and in good condition, not rusty, cracked, dented, or damaged. Damaged or leaking containers, such as cracked lead-acid batteries, cannot be stored outdoors, even temporarily. Keep outdoor work areas neat and orderly. When you are finished with an outdoor job or at the end of your shift, remove any debris or sweep the entire area. And put portable containers back in their indoor storage area when you are finished with them. Regularly pick up trash and debris that accumulates along fence lines and in ditches, and dispose of it properly. Spills, leaks, or accidents still sometimes occur, and this is where municipal employees have to be ready to respond. Your facility's stormwater pollution prevention plan includes or references detailed spill response procedures. You should be familiar with all the materials in your normal work areas that could leak or be spilled. Uncontrolled releases of hazardous materials may require specially trained teams for response and cleanup. All employees should know who to call for help with uncontrolled hazardous releases or any spill or leak beyond their ability to clean up safely. Small spills and leaks of non-hazardous materials should be cleaned up immediately. If you have been properly trained and know how to respond safely to a leak or spill that has been stopped or controlled, then it is your responsibility to do so quickly and effectively. Each facility or field operation where spills are possible will be equipped with one or more spill kits, lockers, a trailer, or some other type of spill station. Each spill station will in turn be equipped with supplies sufficient for the size and type of spills likely to occur in that area. Most kits will have absorbents, cleanup tools, and appropriate personal protective equipment. You should know where the nearest kit is located, what it contains, and how to use all the supplies. Spot cleaning a small leak immediately is quicker, easier, and much more effective than letting a bunch of them accumulate and then having a big cleanup later. Leaving them for later increases the chance of the material being spread by wind, rain, or traffic. Spill responses must only be dry, absorbing, sweeping, shoveling. No water, no hoses. And know what to do with the cleanup wastes or used absorbent. The wastes may not be allowed into the general facility trash or dumpster. Some spill wastes may be hazardous wastes. Fueling of municipal vehicle fleets occurs every day, sometimes hundreds of times each day. And every time fuel flows through a nozzle, there is a potential for a spill. To be ready to respond quickly to a fueling accident, know where the emergency shutoff switch is located. It will be clearly marked. And know how to notify the emergency coordinator quickly. To protect against exposure to stormwater, the best fueling stations will have covers overhead. Uncovered fueling stations will be protected by berms or sloped surfaces to make sure spills do not escape the fueling area. If there is a storm drain inlet close to the fueling area, before starting, it may be necessary to place a cover or barrier to protect it in case of a spill or leak. Other facilities have diversion valves in the drainage system that must be shut off. Know and follow all pre-fueling procedures for each fueling station you use. Consult the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan or your supervisor for detailed procedures. To minimize the risk of a spill, park your vehicle as close as possible to the pump. Do not stretch the hose to reach. When filling up, make sure the nozzle is all the way in the filler pipe before starting to pump. Then stay with the vehicle during the entire filling process. This is not a time for a break. When finished, make sure the flow has stopped. If there is a manual shutoff, shut it off before removing the nozzle. If the pump has an automatic shutoff, do not top off your tank after it shuts off. Keep the nozzle vertical and replace it back on the pump. If any small drips do occur during fueling, spot clean them right away. Maintenance activity should be done indoors or under a roof, if at all possible. Activities like oil, transmission, hydraulic and brake fluid changes, and changing batteries must be done where exposure to stormwater is minimized. If a leaking vehicle arrives and must be stored or worked on outdoors, immediately drain the leak source, such as the fuel tank, engine oil, hydraulic system, or the radiator. Before unclipping hoses, unscrewing filters, or removing parts outdoors, first put down a drip pan or drop cloth. Except for leaks of flammable materials like gasoline, a drip pan or bucket can also be used if leaking equipment must be stored outdoors temporarily. But if you use a drip bucket, make sure to check it regularly to prevent overflow. And empty drip pans into the proper waste or recycling container. Do not leave them lying around where they can be spilled or kicked over. Once again, spot clean any small leaks that might have occurred. Municipal vehicles that are dirty don't convey a very positive image, so most municipalities take care to keep them clean. However, vehicle washing can never be done where the wastewater is discharged or uncontrolled. Even wastewater without soap is a stormwater hazard. It may have picked up dirt, salt, oil, grease, or fuel, and therefore must be kept out of surface waters. The same goes for equipment washing. Wastewater from equipment washing must also be captured and controlled. Otherwise, it winds up right in the nearest stream. Indoor or covered wash racks with floor drains plumbed to the sanitary sewer are best for all washing activities. But indoor and outdoor wash areas with berms, sumps, or holding tanks are also good. For most washing, your facility will have designated one or more vehicle wash racks or wash pads. Individual wash areas may be only for specific types of equipment. They will be designed so that wastewater is channeled and controlled. There will probably be restrictions on the type of soap or cleaner that can be used. Only use the cleaner supplied at the wash rack. Don't substitute or add other cleaners. Unless the wastewater from a wash bay discharges through an oil-water separator, engine cleaning will not be allowed there. And never do any vehicle maintenance in a wash area, not even topping up engine oil or other fluids. Wash areas are not designed for anything but washing. There is one exception to the washing only in designated wash areas rule. As long as no soap or detergent is used, and if done on a flat, grassy area, dirty vehicles or pieces of equipment may be hosed off with plain water. This way, the wash water just soaks into the ground and does not contaminate stormwater runoff. Materials and supplies must be stored and handled to avoid their contaminating stormwater runoff. Unprotected outdoor storage almost inevitably leads to stormwater pollution. These bags were left outdoors unprotected. This staining shows where leaking or oily equipment was left exposed to the weather for a long time. To prevent exposure to stormwater, store these materials indoors in a shed or inside a weatherproof container. Salt and other de-icers must be stored indoors or under a roof. These materials are very water-soluble, and contact with stormwater or runoff will immediately contaminate it. Materials in clean, sturdy, leak-tight containers that were designed for outdoor use may be stored outdoors safely. Place them on a containment pallet or other platform to keep them from exposure to runoff or run-on, which might rust or damage the bottom. For extra protection, place them inside of secondary containment to capture any leaks. Locate them in secure areas and away from heavy traffic. Allow enough room between them so that each can be inspected and moved in or out easily. Some outdoor containers like steel and polyethylene cans or drums can be fitted with weatherproof bonnets that prevent stormwater from contacting the top where residues often accumulate. If non-weatherproof containers such as boxes, bags, or sacks must be stored outdoors temporarily, a waterproof cover or tarp may be used. Place them on a pallet and make sure all the material is covered, the top and all exposed sides. Secure the tarp well and check it regularly for loosening or tearing. The first check should be done within the first week of placing the cover. If you check it and find problems more than twice in a row, some other method or location needs to be found. Move it indoors if possible. Accidents and spills occur often with loading and unloading operations. Load or unload on a dock or bay if possible, or load under a roof overhang if available. If there is a storm drain inlet close by, protect it with absorbent or a cover before starting to load or unload. Avoid loading or unloading in the rain, especially out in the open, where an accidental spill would be immediately exposed to stormwater. Waste management is similar to materials management. Waste containers should be kept indoors if possible. In addition to vehicle-related wastes like used oils and coolants, municipal wastes include waste paper, plastic, packaging materials, and cardboard. In stormwater jargon, these are called floatables because they float on the runoff. Your facility has probably set up recycling programs for many wastes, including floatables. So make sure you know which receptacle to use for each specific type of waste. Waste and recycling containers should be clearly marked. Use them. Waste containers kept outdoors must have lids or covers. Only open the containers when you are putting wastes in. Otherwise, leave them closed. And never dispose of any liquids or liquid-containing wastes in a dumpster or other solid waste receptacle. Waste receptacles must be emptied on a schedule that prevents overfilling. If you see a container anywhere that is often overflowing, report it to your supervisor or stormwater coordinator so the container size can be enlarged or the collection schedule shortened. If you discover wastes lying around or under outdoor receptacles, sweep them up quickly. Do not hose them away. Certain waste must be managed separately from normal trash. Liquid wastes, hazardous wastes, used oil, oil filters, and scrap metal must be collected and stored without mixing them with other wastes. And they must be protected from exposure to stormwater. Accidental contamination of stormwater by wastes can be avoided with these simple precautions. But disposing of any waste or other materials into storm drainage systems on purpose is a whole other story. Never use storm drainage systems for waste disposal. It may be tempting to just pour a little used oil or expired pesticide down a storm drain, but don't do it, ever. This is illegal dumping, and it is the worst violation of your municipality's stormwater permit. This is not the kind of example we want to set for our community. And it can subject both the municipality and you personally to a violation or a monetary fine. Municipal employees working over or near surface waters must take special precautions. Work conducted at marinas, boat launches, beaches, waterfronts, retention basins, and bridges jeopardizes stormwater. The risk of contaminating nearby waters is great. If you make a mistake, you may not have time to respond before surface waters have already been impacted. If possible, move the work on shore, away from the water. For work on portable items like signs, trash cans, buoys, and flotation devices, move them on shore for painting or repair work. Same for fuel and paint mixing and paint or varnish thinning, mixing, or tool cleaning. Do it on shore only, not on board or on the dock. Same for boat maintenance. Haul the boat out of the water and into dry dock for anything other than minor work. Do the work as far away from the shoreline as possible. When work must be done over or near water, use the most environmentally friendly, biodegradable products you can find. Use phosphate-free detergents only. Use non-oil-based paints where possible. For painting, varnishing, or sandblasting, before starting work, put up windscreens like tarps to prevent blowing of wastes into the water. Secure all waste disposal containers so they cannot be tipped over or blown over by the wind and spill their contents into the water. Doing bridge work, you will normally have to suspend a cloth or tarp under the bridge to catch any wastes or debris that fall off during maintenance. Securing floating booms around work areas will act as a last chance to capture any floating pollutants that make it into the water. So there you have it. Everything you ever wanted to know about stormwater pollution prevention for MS4 operators. You know what is expected of you. You know that your community and your organization look to you to take a leadership role in stormwater pollution prevention, to do your rain check on every job, to protect our surface waters from pollution, to keep them safe for swimming, for recreation, for wildlife, and for the next generation. Thanks for setting an example for others to copy, for setting the bar high for all of us. Keep up the good work.